Hello and welcome. In Unit 3 Legal Studies, you spent time looking at the Victorian criminal and civil justice system, which I hope you found both informative and interesting. In Unit 4, you're looking at the role played in our legal system by the Australian Constitution. You're also looking at the role of the parliaments and the courts and the way they affect our lives. As you've commenced Unit 4 and are well on your way to the end of year examination in legal studies, you may well ask, what should I be doing now? I'm going to outline some of the ways in which you can prepare yourselves to do really well in this subject. The first thing that I would recommend is get a hold of the study design if you haven't already got one. You may well have one, you may well have had one since last year, but the study design sets out exactly what you can be examined on and only what you can be examined on. If it's not in the study design, it can't appear in the examination. Also, get a hold of a copy of the Constitution if you haven't already done so. Many of you will already have a copy of it. Not because you need to know everything that's in the Constitution, but you will have studied or are studying some aspects, some sections of the Constitution, and you'll understand those much more completely if you can see them within the context of the whole document. Now, you don't have to go out and buy a copy of the Constitution, you can download it. But I would strongly recommend that each of you has a copy of the study design, as I've said, and a copy of the Constitution. Now, throughout the course, you've been assessing the operation of the legal system according to the principles of justice. And a slide will pop up just outlining what those are. Those principles of justice are fairness, equality, and access. And I can almost hear you groan and say, that's boring, dull, and repetitive. But you have to continue that for the remainder of Unit 4, and you may well be required to refer to those principles in the forthcoming examination. A very important thing to do is to make sure that your topic notes are in order and up to date, so that you're ready to use them for your revision. There is absolutely no value in starting to make your topic notes in October. Go back and have a look at them now. You've got time. You've got a bit of a break coming up. So have a look at what you can do to make sure that all of your topic notes are up to date, so that when it comes to revising, they're ready for you to use. And you don't have to go scrambling for information, because if you've done it and you keep those topic notes up to date, you'll have everything that you need in front of you. Now, a few important tips. Cover all sections of Units 3 and 4. Make sure your topic notes cover all sections of Units 3 and 4. Don't leave gaps, and don't specialize in your favorite areas. You might have a real passion for one area, but it may not appear on the exam. So you must make sure that you cover everything. Now, over the course of the year, you'll all almost certainly have looked at a number of cases. You'll have looked at criminal cases in semester 1. You'll have looked at some civil cases as well. Now, it's very important to be able to make use of those cases when it comes to answering examination questions. Make sure that you've recorded them, that is the case notes, in the following way. This is a way that I didn't specialize in it. I was told how to do it, and I did it, and I found it very, very useful. And I made my notes in this way. Now, a slide will pop up and show you what this is all about. On the left there, you've got your knowledge audit, and we'll come to that a bit later on. Now, if we come up to the slide which has the facts, issues, decision, and significance on it, that will help us a great deal. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Make your case notes according to these 4 principles. I used to do it a long time ago when I was a law student on a piece of card about the size of an envelope. Facts. What was the case about? Who did what to whom? You need to be able to indicate that. Issues. What did the court have to resolve? What did the court have to decide? Who was to blame? That sort of thing. Have a look at the evidence on both sides. That's the issues that those are the issues that might be involved in any case. And thirdly, the decision. Who won? What did the court decide? And finally, the significance. Now, this can mean a number of things, and this is really important, this bit, because significance is, why on earth are we studying this particular case? Why is it significant to the course? Why is it important? Did it create a new precedent? Did it do away with an old precedent? What's the importance of it? And you might be required, or you might find it appropriate, to provide information about each of these FIDs, F-I-D-S, facts, issues, decision, significance, when you're answering a longer question in the examination. Now, apart from case notes, please make sure that your notes on key pieces of legislation are in order, as well as notes on the key sections of the Constitution. As I said before, you're not going to look at the whole Constitution, but you will be looking at some very specific bits of it, like section 109, for example. Make sure that you understand what they're about and can cite them correctly. It's important to be able to obtain copies of past examination papers. Now, the next slide just simply tells you exams. You're going to be assessed according to an examination. Obtain copies of past examination papers and the examiner's report, but be guided by your teachers as to which papers and which reports are relevant to the current study design, because during COVID, some sections of the study design were omitted and therefore were omitted in the exam. So you don't want to be looking at the wrong examination papers. Now, I'm going to have a look at what's on page 3 of the handout, which your teachers will have prepared for you, or have printed for you, and will have put up on a screen so that you can see it. This is about the exam. This is about the assessment. The paper consists of compulsory questions. Your teacher will provide you with information about the examination as it's released by the Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority. As I've already said, the paper will be designed to assess a large portion of the study design. Do not omit any part of the course in your exam preparation. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is really important. Don't ignore difficult bits and don't specialise. Now, what about when I'm sitting in front of the exam paper and looking at it? Read the questions carefully in the 15 minutes of reading time that's allocated to the question. Nothing's more annoying for an examination supervisor to see somebody have a quick look at the paper and chuck it aside and sort of twiddle their thumbs until they're told to start writing. Use that 15 minutes appropriately. Use it profitably. And how to do that is to ask 2 questions. What is the content? What is the content? What's the subject matter I'm being asked to write about? And secondly, what is the task? What am I being asked to do with the subject matter? What is the content? What is the task? Now, make sure you get to the examination centre a few minutes before the start time, neither too early nor too late. Bring enough blue or black pens and a ruler. If you cross out any of your writing, do it neatly. That's why I'm suggesting you take a ruler. If you cross something out, the marker knows not to pay attention to it, but don't try to obliterate it. They don't care what you've crossed out. What you haven't crossed out is the important bit. Allocate your writing time appropriately. Success in the examination will depend partly on how you utilise the available time. Numbers that appear in questions. If you're asked to provide 1 example, don't give 2 or 3. You don't receive any extra marks for bonus information. Do precisely what you've been asked to do and nothing more. Now, quite often I'm asked by students, where do I start with an exam? Well, wherever you wish or wherever you feel most comfortable. But I suggest you start at the beginning. Why? Well, because you're less likely to miss a question. and that has been done from time to time. You might gain time as a short answer may not require double time. That is, it may not require 4 minutes to answer a 2-mark question. Questions tend to require more detailed answers as you work your way through the paper. And if you start at the beginning, it gives you the opportunity to warm up to those longer answers. How much do I write? As indicated earlier, that will partly be determined by what you're being asked and by the marks that are allocated. You do not need to use all the space provided. You'll be given ample room to respond, and the lines might only be fully utilised by students who have larger handwriting. That appeared in one of the examination reports. This does not mean that you cannot use more than the lines provided, even if you have small handwriting. However, be sure to indicate clearly that your answer continues on the extra lines provided at the end of the examination booklet. Now, you've all heard this before. Do not leave the examination room early. Stay until the end. Attempt all questions, as marks are not deducted for incorrect answers. You won't get any marks for them, but they won't be deducted if you make a mistake. Read over your responses, and if you have to make additions or amendments, do them neatly. Rule a line to show where you're making that amendment. Make sure that the examiner or the marker has a good look at it. Examination questions generally have 2 components. That is, they ask for particular information and they require that the information to be presented in a particular way. The task word. In the handout, you'll find that there are, in fact, lots of task words listed for you to have a look at. I'm trying to turn over my copy just so that I can have a quick look at it, because being conscious of the meaning of task words and their implications is really important. You'll find on page 6 of the handout, there's a whole lot of them. You might be asked to analyse, or define, or distinguish, or interpret, or justify. If you're not sure what those mean, or what they require of you under examination conditions, make sure that your teacher explains them to you. After all, as I've said before, that's what your teacher's there for. If you're asked to analyse something, clearly you're expected to make a critical examination, identifying the essential elements of features and of principles. If you're asked to explain something, provide details that are sufficient to give the reader an understanding of that particular item. If you're asked to illustrate, this is where your case notes come in, use an example to illustrate the point that you're making. If you're asked to list, you just simply make your point briefly in order of importance. To what extent, the degree to which an institution, procedure, or law fulfills a purpose or a principle. So have a good look at those common task words, because all of them over the last few years have been used in examination questions. Now, a slide popped up a little earlier showing you the area of study. The Unit 4 areas of study in the plural, and on the right-hand side, areas for you to make notes. If you have a look at the knowledge audit, area of 4, I'm trying to say Unit 4, area of study 1. If you are absolutely up to date on the roles of the Crown and the Houses of Parliament, you put a tick in the yes column. If you're not up to date on it, put a cross in the no column, and then right beside that, in action, what you're going to do about it. Am I going back to my teacher? Am I going back to my textbook, back to my notes? So that you can go back, rub out that cross in the no column, and put a tick in the yes column. Now, if you work your way through all of Units 3 and 4 in that way and use that knowledge audit accordingly, you will end up with a pretty clear preparation, an effective preparation for the upcoming examinations. As I've said, the handout which your teachers will have printed for you or put up on a screen for you contains a list and explanation of those task words used in examination questions. And I'm sorry to be repetitive, but it's really important that you have a good look at those, at that page. Use the knowledge audit so that you can prepare yourselves. Check your topic notes, check your case notes. Well, that gives you some answers to the question, what should I be doing now? I wish you well for the remainder of Unit 4 and best of luck for the final examination.